Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of Nutrient Shootouts. I'm your host, OSP. Today, we're going to be covering pH meters, specifically HM Digital, but we also have a Blue Lab PPM meter, how to care for and store and calibrate the meters. So, what we have here is the HM200. It's a handheld 2-in-1 that also does data logging, so you can recall, I think, up to 13 of the previous stored bits of information. You've got your PPM, you've got your pH, and you can change it from 500 to 700 scale or to EC, Fahrenheit, centigrade. We also have the HM Digital COM 300, which is their pH and pH, PPM, and temperature also built in. Really nice unit. So what we want to do, because we're going to be taking a ton of cuttings tonight, is we want to calibrate these units. So most pH pens will be coming with a some sort of apparatus that keeps the probe from drying out. You always want to make sure that you have something that covers and protects the glass on these probes, but it also has to have a high conductivity. The conductivity of saline solution, that is what we typically use, is typically over what the meter can even read, and that is because the more ppm you have in potassium chloride, or the more everything you've got basically in the solution, the less the solution the water is going to try to pull from the meter, from the glass, from the probe, from the ions, causing it to more prematurely wear out. If you don't have a storage solution, or you can't make a saline solution, I recommend, at least temporarily, if you have a 1500, 1400 ppm solution for your feed, actually using that. The higher the dissolved salts in said water, the less ionic pull it's going to have. Never use reverse osmosis water or very clean water, even if it's live water. So, the HM Digital meters, very fast responding. The bigger meters and the wall meters, which I have over there, are very similar to this. Wall mounted, battery powered and wall powered, and also backlight capable, which is very nice. But occasionally they do come into a situation where you want to clean it and calibrate it, because maybe while you're looking at it, you're not getting the correct readings, or it may seem like things are off. So, first thing I recommend people do is very gently take a toothbrush and get into these crevices on both the PPM and temperature probe and in between the glass, but very gently. Just get any debris that might be there out of there. That's first and foremost, and what you'll notice usually is your reading will go right back to being within 0.1 of what it should be calibrated. And that goes for any brand. Make sure you just keep them clean, but be gentle, because this is very thin glass. It is even thinner and like bulbous on this one, but it's very thin glass. It can break, but be careful with the toothbrush. Get it clean, get everything off of the sides there, and you'll start getting much more accurate readings. Now, past that point, when you need to calibrate, as we all do and we all should, every 10 waterings, whatever you feel like you think your meter might be shifting. Most good meters and grocery stores will have a pH buffering solution that you can actually test. This is temperature compensated, so you can really get it dialed in really well. These ones I've used once for this specific probe, so there shouldn't be any contamination, and I just resealed it using my vacuum sealer, so I was able to to kind of reseal it, though it probably is not going to be the easiest thing to open. So what you first want to do on the HM digital meter, we'll do the pH first, and then we'll show how to do PPM or EC calibration, and we'll also do it on the Blue Lab. But you want to open it up so you have access to it. And I tend to, if it seems like your meter is way out of whack, like you think it's like way out of whack, if it's being very inconsistent, like if you change from PPM to EC and then back, or sorry, from PPM to pH and back, and it goes up like a whole point, it probably is going bad, or your batteries are low. Obviously, always check your batteries and make sure you have good batteries. If not, if it seems to be stable, but it definitely seems like it's off, start with a pH of 7, because neutral is where you always want to start, which also has 0 ions, and it should start to balance out the glass in the probe to start. So with this one on, we're going to put it in the probe in the pH 7, and we're going to look. And this one should be pretty accurate. I use this specific meter out in the barn. I use both of these meters actually out in the barn, but I heavily relied on this one with the Fluoroflex nutrient line. And I was feeding pretty heavy at 2.5 EC, so there was a lot of ionic exchange and stuff. So this one looks like it's a little high, and I swish it around a little bit just to give it time to even out. So that's not bad at 7.1, but I want to calibrate it rate it correctly. So on this one, I'll hit menu, I'll press and hold menu, and I will use what is the down arrow to calibration, and then the enter button, and then I want pH, I choose 7, and then I use my up and down arrow. Oh, I don't on this one. Okay. This meter is actually a little bit different than the wall meters. Maybe not. Hold on. No, it might be. We're going to edit this out. So I want to do pH. Well, it's been a minute since I've done this one. Okay, so this one, what it's doing is it's sitting there, and it's just reading it to make sure it doesn't jump up by 0.1 or down by 0.1. And so after, I think, another 10 seconds here, it'll flash calibration, it'll say end, and it'll say 7. So it automatically knows that you're doing 7 because you chose 7, and so it sets 7. I'll show you how it's different on the other. Oh, it says error. Okay, this isn't going very well for me now, is it? Isn't it? Alright. If I go up or down, I don't get anything. If I hit enter again, I don't get anything. Okay, that time it took it because it said end. I've seen that happen before on a couple of units, so we'll just do it again, just for the sake of filming. And what that, honestly, what that probably did, fuck it, I'll keep this in here. What it probably did is because I was moving it around, it probably did jump up by 0.1, and so it threw the error. This time it didn't, and so we just hit escape, and escape again, and now it's deadlocked at 7. So once you get past any first errors and you've got your 7 point set, that automatically adjusts your 4.0, your acidity. But you always have to calibrate your acidity. So I'm going to take the probe, I'm going to flick it off a little, very gently, blow it off so I'm not recontaminating my 4.0. And so now I'm going to put it in my 4.0, and we can see what we end up with. Let me get this EC probe out of here. And of course, make sure your connectors are clean. Make sure they're well set, screwed in. The temperature EC has a thumb screw and of course a BNC. a BNC connector for your pH probe. So this one says 3.9, so we were at 7.1 and 3.9. So a little high and a little low. So same thing, we're going to press and hold menu, then we're going to go down one to calibration, hit enter, hit pH, and we're going to choose 4. And it's going to sit there and calibrate, making sure that the pH doesn't jump or fluctuate. This also has a pH of 10, so if you're reading high alkalinity type of situations, like, I don't know, you're making your own healthy water or something, you can get 10 solution and calibrate for 10. So there we are, this one calibrated. So once you have 7, then do 4, and then typically you're good to go. Now we're back. Turn that backlight on a little. 70 degrees, 70.3. So yeah, 68, 3.99. Yeah, it's so close. So this meter now is completely calibrated. So we're going to turn that off. We'll set the 4.0 down. Take a look, make sure we have our sponge, which we do. And then got a little bit of potassium chloride left, saline, or healthier salt if you will. I'm just going to add a little squirt to that. Now we're going to put it back on. So when you get these meters, always save these caps. Even if they dry out, even if this dries out, you can always get some saline. You can always just put some reservoir water if that's all you got. So now we'll move on to our really nice COM 300. Now, if for some reason you break a probe or an EC and it goes bad, you can buy replacements. Most probe stores have HM Digital, and this one probe goes for basically all the units and works incredibly well. With the HM Digital pens, unlike with the Blue Lab pens, this is just the PPM pen. I actually gave a buddy of mine my pH pen so he could get up and running. These actually have interchangeable probes, so you can actually buy a replacement 3-in-1 probe. So this one right now, we're going to switch over to pH, and then again, we're going to start with a pH solution of 7.0. So we'll get that in there. Luckily it looks like. Yep, I got more than enough solution to get up to the level, so I am making contact. And this meter should be way off. And by way off, I mean way off. This one hasn't been used in a while. It's been dirty. I just cleaned it. It's got fresh batteries in it. They all have fresh batteries in them. They've been cleaned with a soap, with a toothbrush, a little bit of warm water, and a little tiny bit of just mild hand soap. So it is starting to come down because the glass is acclimating correctly to the pH of 7. So this one's going to be close. This one calibrates a little bit differently. Yeah, we're at 7.3, and I don't think we're going to show 7.2. So this one calibrates a little bit differently. We'll give that just another few seconds here. Now this one, the middle button, you see you got your up and down arrows. This one does not data log. It's a nice meter though. So we're going to hold for calibration. It's going to sit here and flash. It's at 7.1. Now we're going to hit the down arrow button to tell it that it's 7.0, and then we hit our enter. And then it sits there and waits to make sure it doesn't drop or raise. And then it should say end, and it should say 7. Now you can always go back and do it, but every time you go back, putting some 7 into 4, you can, screw up the packet of 4. So I like to only do it just the one time. That's why I always do 7 first, so it's the most neutral and should have the least amount of effect on the 4 packet if, more of this water gets in there, because it's the most neutral. If it was alkalinic, it would react. So the fact that it's neutral, and these are quite durable meters. Obviously, you don't want to bang around, but I shake the crap out of them and they stay running just fine. So in this case, now we're going to go take our pH of 4, We're going to get it in here, and it looks like I've got more than enough. So we're going to get it all the way in there. Let me show this off. And she's steadily dropping like a rock, which is what we want. Oh my god, I just realized that I'm filming in tall mode. Oh, that's so sad. I'm sorry about that, everyone. And yeah, the storage solution, yeah, it typically reads a pH of 4.1. So this is dead on 4. So all we had to actually calibrate, oh, it's going a little lower. So yeah, about the same. So we ended up at about 7.1 and 3.9. Now that right there is really nice, because I've seen blue labs fluctuate a lot more than that. So this and that meter acting the same way pretty much tells you that you're going to be so close in your pH that you're not going to lock out your plants. You're not going to be causing problems. We're a little down to 3.8. So at this point, I think we're going to be stable. So I'm going to press and hold the cal button. That brings up my calibration. It starts flashing. I'm going to up arrow to 4, and then I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to do its little thing. Make sure it doesn't shift again. If it does shift, it'll throw error. You just do it again. And that time it just popped right back to 4. 74 degrees on that. 70, 68, 77, 3.99 to 4.0. Right on the money. So I'm good enough with that, and I'm ready to go. So I'll just turn it off. And I will, again, heat seal. If you've got a vacuum sealer or a little chip sealer, or you've got a storage container that'll stay solid, you can put that pH and keep it. You can also buy HM or Blue Lab stuff and use a shot glass, which is how we're going to be doing the connectivity standard for the EC or PPM meter. So now with this one, I gotta use these things, so I gotta do this all right. This is a working man's video here, so we're gonna put a little more potassium chloride in here, and this one will be good to go. We're going to be calibrating and running live meters on our cloners right behind me and doing a big clone run tonight. We got all of our nutrients in, and we're just bringing our pH down now, so we'll be doing Clonex rooting gel, Formex, UC roots for the sterilizer, and the Clonex rooting nutrient. So now what we need to do is we need to calibrate our EC. We need to calibrate our PPM. So I'm a PPM scale of 5. I also like to use EC in the 6-way shootouts. So what I'm going to do is take some sort of connectivity solution. Anything will work as long as you know that this is going to be 1385 at the 500 scale, or it's going to be 1940 at the 700 scale, or 2.77 EC. So as long as the calibration solution you're buying has those values, and dry this out, then you know exactly what you're going to be getting. So pour out a little bit of calibration solution. Yes. Okay, so we are on a 0.5 scale with the HM200. And a little bit more. This thing had the label fall in, so it looks like there's some debris in the cup, but it's really just the cardboard label. So 16, 20. And what we're going to do is the same thing. We're going to hit our menu and hold it. We're going to go down one. Shit. Every time. I swear to God, every time that happens to me. We're going to hit calibration. Get that filled back up. So we're going to hit enter. Alright. So we spilt, so we're going to try this again. I did actually calibrate it. Didn't realize it wasn't filming. So we're just going to do it again because I do tend to do it more than once. We hit and hold menu. We go 1 down to calibration. Hit our enter key. 2 down to TDS. Hit the enter key. And then we do our down arrow till we're at 1385. Hit the enter again. And it'll calibrate it. Now this will always never be, within like 10 or 20. It'll always be a little off, but it gets us very close to the ballpark. We know we're 1385 at the 500 scale. And that's it. So, we hit escape. See, it says 1390, so it's 5 points up. So this meter is perfectly calibrated, ready to go. Yeah, look at that chunk of crap from the top. So now, our HM COM300, we press the button in the middle to switch over to PPM. Now this one's set to MS. We need to switch that with the mode button. Sorry, we gotta hold the mode button. Now we're over to PPM and it says, now we're over to PPM and it says 0.5. So we're on the right scale. It says 71 ppm. We clean it all the way off. It should say 0. And again, this meter is a little different. So we're going to put it in the solution. See if I can do this like this. Now this one reads 1660. Yeah, there we go. A little bit better. 1660.5. We're going to press and hold calibration. It's going to flash. We're going to down arrow until we get our, we went too far, until we get our 1380, 1380, and I think I can go, I'll go lower than upper, so 1380 is now flashing. I believe I have to hit my enter key. It sits there and runs cal to make sure that that doesn't wildly fluctuate. It says end, and it says 1380 on the 0.5 scale, so I'm going to do it a second time. That was barely touching. Well, I guess it wasn't that bad. I'm going to try to do it. See, it says 1630. It should be 1300. So yeah, I don't think that I had full contact. Let me add more solution. Because yeah, you can see the pins on this meter are a little bit higher than the pH probe. So you have your pH and your temperature down low, but the pins on this one are definitely a lot higher, and with me tilting it to try to film it. So it reads 1590, so we're going to do this calibration again, maybe even a third time. And you do have to sometimes do this to get these meters really to be consistent. So we're going to use our down button to go to 1385. It's fast. So there's no 85, so we'll go to 1380. We get our enter key. There's a cal. It says end. And a couple more flashes, it's at 1380. We pull it out. It's still got some dripping on it. Of course, it's not electrically making a connection between the two probes, but it says 6. So it's pretty much down to nothing. So yeah, we can do this one more time, and it'll be even better. It's never really going to be 0. But it's going to be within definitely 100, if not less. It's usually actually within 50, about 50 for me. So I'm going to dump this one back in. We already have good storage solution in this cap. And there we go. We got 2 meters that are ready to go. HM Digital. This one is data logging, so you can actually, if you're doing clones, you can actually see if you're getting some sort of lock. If you're doing Fluoroflex, you can actually show that Fluoroflex is quite pH stable, 5.8, sometimes 5.7. If you're adding silica and Epsom salts. So that should be it for this video. Like and subscribe, and that'll do it. Thanks. Bye.